Around the world, PETA was a champion for animals in 2023, bringing aid in the face of agony, hope in the face of catastrophe, and an end to speciesism toward all animals, both in the United States and abroad. We uncovered the shocking case of a South American consortium that was violating animal care and use guidelines at its ramshackle facilities, where owl monkeys and other animals were tortured for useless experiments funded by US taxpayers. This explosive investigation resulted in the largest animal rescue in the country's history, the termination of funding from the NIH, and multiple investigations into the facility's owners. But that was just one of PETA's campaigns out of countless others around the world. We convinced a university in Colombia to ban the cruel forced swim test on animals, donated human simulators to spare animals by providing human-relevant training to future surgeons in Europe and the Middle East, compelled the Sri Lankan government to cancel its plan to ship 100,000 monkeys to China, and got the Taiwan FDA to remove animal test requirements for certain marketing claims. PETA's motto begins by affirming that animals are not ours to experiment on, but it doesn't stop there, and neither did we. We donated teach-kind materials to schools, including the first vegan school in Uganda, worked with huge global brands to pull wool, down, exotic skins, feathers, and other animal-derived products from their shelves, persuaded several tourist companies to stop promoting camel rides, and a television platform to stop airing bullfights. We facilitated free spay-neuter clinics in Latin America and the Philippines, and responded to thousands of emergency cases around the world. Many of these emergencies were related to natural and human-made disasters, as 2023 saw a surge in life and death situations for animals left at the mercy of the destructive forces around them. Fortunately, our Global Compassion Fund was able to provide crucial support to organizations doing rescue work in the midst of the Ukraine war and many other disaster zones, while some of our own field workers risked their very lives to save cats, dogs, and other animals from the aftermath of devastating earthquakes in Turkey. One of those animals was Pisa, a teeny black cat set adrift in the world-consuming chaos around him. Abandoned in a dilapidated building with no food, no water, no microchip, and seemingly no hope of ever finding happiness again. His outlook could not have been bleaker. But that was before we lured him into a carrier and flew him over 8,000 miles to his new home in the United States, where he now purrs contentedly with his rescuer and their family. And of course, we were busy helping animals here at home too. Our field workers delivered nearly 200 free sturdy dog houses for dogs left outside. We spayed and neutered more than 11,000 animals to curb the homeless animal crisis, and we helped more than 700 animals have a chance at finding a new home where they could experience safety, peace, and comfort for the very first time. As for the individuals and the companies who actively abused animals, we were relentless in pursuing consequences, whether in the form of fines and citations, revoked licenses, and criminal indictments for animal dealers, bans from ever owning animals again, and even criminal convictions, all to ensure that they will never harm another soul in their custody.
You want to be macho? You want to be a tough guy? You want to be a real man, as they say? Protect your animals.
We unveiled more legal initiatives across the country. West Hollywood was the first city in the US to ban glue traps. We pushed to prevent a deadly management plan for coyotes in Pasadena. Our case against yet another ag-gag law ended in a victory for freedom of speech. And the California Horse Racing Board passed new regulations to prohibit participation in underground races in the wake of a previous PETA investigation that resulted in multiple criminal charges. On the East Coast, Congress passed the FDA Modernization Act 2.0 in the final days of last year. It mirrors our scientists' requests with a massive step toward ending pharmaceutical testing on animals completely. And the Big Cat Public Safety Act was signed into law after decades of PETA campaigning and trailblazing initiatives, guaranteeing that lions, tigers, and other big cats will no longer be abused for the sake of a cub-petting selfie. Keeping humane imagery in the public eye is crucial to changing attitudes about how animals should be treated. That's why we compelled Walmart and Walgreens to stop selling greeting cards that feature demeaning images of great apes, convinced the Ad Council and other agencies to pledge that they'll never show breathing-impaired dog breeds in their commercials, and compelled Dukel Corporation to remove circus-themed visuals from its bandages. And beyond that, we were back in full force online, on the catwalk, and in business.
Because Starbucks cares about money.
I think it's the first time I've been naked in an East Village restaurant. Let's leave it at that.
We helped organize over 1,000 protests and demonstrations with eye-catching spins on both new and classic campaigns that led to even more victories. The Navy pulled funding for decompression experiments on sheep at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. A University of Tennessee College of Medicine stopped mutilating live pigs in some medical training programs. Healthcare companies dropped their sponsorship of the Cruel Iditarod. Universal Circus stopped using animals in the face of PETA's decades-long campaign. And Ford and General Motors slammed the brakes on funding tests on animals, updating policies that were prompted by PETA's original campaign 30 years ago.
A vegan man is appealing to keep his custom license plate. The man just loves how satisfied it makes him feel afterwards. He also loves tofu.
We convinced the makers of the film Good Burger 2 to add vegan options to their movie's menu, and we distributed more than 100,000 free vegan starter kits and samples to underserved communities that wouldn't otherwise be exposed to a healthier, cruelty-free lifestyle.
And I partnered with PETA because we're urging elected officials to redirect the billions of dollars spent on meat, egg, and dairy subsidies to healthy plant-based suppliers and incentivizing grocers to have access to healthy food for everyone.
We also worked with investigators and whistleblowers around the world to obtain new evidence of cruelty to animals, shining a light into the darkest corners where abuse occurs so that we could wake up the public to these horrifying practices and ultimately achieve repercussions for those who commit them. PETA's investigation into a bear breeding facility in Idaho, where traumatized cubs were separated from their mothers and even denied veterinary treatment, resulted in a fine for the facility from OSHA. Another PETA investigation into a roadside zoo in South Dakota led to multiple USDA citations and an agreement by the owner to end some of their most abusive practices. And victories continued to pour in from previous investigations. More international companies stopped sourcing Chowco coconut milk after our campaign showed monkeys were being abused for forced labor. And 9 ex-workers were convicted of cruelty to animals based on evidence from our investigation into a disingenuously named humane turkey supplier. When we exposed a groundbreaking investigation into Anheuser-Busch, in which its iconic Budweiser Clydesdales had their tail bones mutilated while they were still foals, subjecting them to a lifetime of misery without their tails to communicate or provide defense against biting flies, the company agreed to end the cruel practice, and our investigations led to real-life seismic shifts for animals. From the dramatic rescue of a former U.S. racehorse on her way into a slaughterhouse in Korea, to the animals imprisoned at what PETA called in a lawsuit the worst roadside zoo in America. Following PETA's lawsuit, that zoo was finally shut down, and the remaining large animals were transported to the Wild Animal Refuge in Colorado, where they now have ample space to explore, appropriate shelters, and dedicated staff to attend to their every need. And all that was just a small portion of what we accomplished in 2023, because we never stopped innovating to expand the animal rights revolution. We relaunched our youth movement, PETA 2, brought our virtual reality experience Abduction to campuses across the country, and celebrated reaching more than 100,000 students on our tour with Ellie the Robotic Elephant, with one poll ranking PETA in the top 10 brands getting Gen Z's attention. PETA Latinos celebrated 10 years of vital outreach. We hosted a plethora of virtual events to keep our members engaged no matter where they live. We utilized AI technology in brilliant new ways to expand minds and keep our message in the news. And I even updated my will to get media outlets buzzing. This is an insurance, really, that when I go, I can continue my activism by giving my body parts away to make serious points about issues that I'm drawing attention to in a provocative way. PETA is the ultimate global force for animals, regardless of their size, their shape, or where they are around the world. PETA will always be there to help, upholding our commitment to ending speciesism. As Edward James Olmos expressed at our Council of Animals exhibit on the National Mall,
we are asking you, our fellow inhabitants of this unique, bright blue planet, to leave today with renewed respect for all of us. Remember, we're all in this together.
Thank you for supporting this vital work for animals and for helping us do even more in 2024.